like to welcome everybody to the 7th Bitcoin Cash Developers Meeting, public meeting for 2019. And the goal of the meeting today is to share information that may help with the planning for the upcoming upgrade and discussion on the November upgrade. So there's a number of items on the agenda, but before we get into the agenda, I want to start with doing some introductions, and I'm going to go from my top left, Jason B. Cox.
Hi, I'm Jason Cox, software engineer, been contributing to Bitcoin ABC for the past year and a half. So,
thanks, Jason. Thanks, Jason. Mark? Sorry, Mark Lundeberg. We've got two Marks today.
Yeah, so I'm Mark Lundeberg, I guess Mark 1 for this purposes of this meeting. And yeah, so I've been working on the Schnorr signature upgrade for the May upgrade, and I'm generally interested in doing cool things with Bitcoin Cash, let's say.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Mark 2, Mark Tyneway.
Hey, my name is Mark, and I work for Purse.io, and I'm a developer on the open source team.
Great. Great to have you here, Mark. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
We have another new face, although he's not new to the space. That's Josh Zegers. Josh, can you give us a short introduction?
Yes, I can. So I'm Josh Ellithorpe. I work on a lot of miscellaneous projects, stuff that you might have heard of, Cash Shuffle, BCHD, some of the neutrino stuff that is happening right now, and a lot of little miscellaneous things throughout the space.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh. Next, we have Amaury. Can you give us a quick introduction?
Yes, I'm Amaury. I'm the lead developer for Bitcoin ABC.
Thank you, Amaury. And then we have Fernando Pelliccioni. I hope I did that right.
I am Fernando Pelliccioni, and I am the maintainer of Bitprim, the Bitprim node.
Okay, thank you very much, Fernando. Glad to see you here as well. Antony Zegers.
Yeah, I'm Antony Zegers. I'm Hungarian online, and I work on various Bitcoin Cash stuff.
Okay. Thank you, Antony. Emil Oldenburg. Good to see you, Emil.
Thank you. I'm Emil Oldenburg. I'm the CTO of Bitcoin.com. Yeah, we do so many different Bitcoin Cash projects that might be too much to list them, but yeah, we're the miner and big business. We're the miner represented here.
Okay. Thank you very much, Emil. And then we have the faceless one, AlwaysAnOn. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Hey, everyone. AlwaysAnOn. I've done a number of BCH-related projects over the year or so. They're typically web-related projects. I did GitCash is my main one. I've done some stuff for Bitcoin Cash Association, some internal tooling, and right now I'm doing a little bit of work on Cash Shuffle. So just general Bitcoin Cash web guy.
Great. Thank you, and nice to have you here as well.
Thank you.
We've got a couple of people that will probably drop in a little bit later, but we'll keep going with the agenda now that we've gotten through that part of it. So I'll run over briefly what the agenda is for today's meeting. We're going to be, the second item of business is to give the status of the various node implementations regarding the upgrade readiness. And so I'll run through each of the ones we're talking about here. And then the next item on the agenda will be the 25 unconfirmed transaction limit and discussing progress on that. Then the final item for discussion will be upgrading the testnet, the upgrade testnet update. So there we go. And we'll also take questions from the audience, probably more towards the end. So if you feel like clicking on the button for Q&A, please do, and your questions will go into a queue and they'll be addressed later in the meeting. So again, thank you all for being here, and I guess we'll start right off with the status of the various node implementations. Maybe we'll start with BCHD. Josh, could you talk about this release a little bit with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually ready for the new upgrade, and we're code complete. We have all of the hooks. We have all the Schnorr pieces in. However, we haven't done extensive testing on the testnet yet. So I was actually talking to Antony this morning about the testnet, and there's a couple of things that I need to do to be able to support that testnet. Invalidate block is required right now in order to actually use the existing testnet. And that's actually one of the few RPC hooks that haven't been implemented in BCHD yet. So that an issue is being put up for that. We want to get onto the testnet and verify that everything is working as expected, but we are code complete and we are ready.
Great, thank you, Josh. Anyone have any questions for Josh?
What's up, Emma?
We're all good. All right, we'll move on to purse.io and the bcash. Maybe Mark Tyneway, you could just give us a little update on that. Oh, microphone is muted, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, so so bcash, if anyone doesn't know, bcash is a fork of Bcoin, and it's a full node written in JavaScript, and it has it. So for the May upgrade, bcash is not ready, and we're actively looking for any developers or people that can review the code to take a look at it and try to help us just get it ready for the May upgrade, just because we don't have enough resources to put developers on it full time right now. We do have Schnorr signatures implemented in our crypto library, so you don't need to re-implement the Schnorr signatures. You can just consume the package. And if anyone knows anyone that's interested, you can just have them ping me.
That's great.
Cool.
What's the best way for them to ping you?
Yeah, so I'm on Telegram at Tynes.
I'll post that information as we go. And of course, your email is available as well. Is that correct?
Yep, mark@purse.io. Tynes is my nick. You can find me all over the place.
Great.
There is a fellow who is apparently working on it. So we should try to get him connected to you.
Yeah. We just need to make sure that it's somebody that has experience writing consensus critical code. Just because this is going to be running as in production at Purse, and we just need to make sure that we protect our customers and that there's no problems with consensus.
Mm-hmm. That's great. We'll make sure that information gets put in the footnotes for this the video that's produced from this meeting. So thank you very much, Mark. Anybody have any further questions for Mark? No? All right. The next one is the Bitcoin Unlimited upgrade version. Is there anyone here that can speak to that? I know SickPig is not able to make it. The time didn't work for him this time. Amaury.
Yes, I'm just gonna repeat what I've been told because there's no one to say it firsthand, and I don't know if I have the most fresh, up-to-date information. But last time I talked to SickPig, he was saying that the next release of BU should be compatible with the May upgrade. So that should come, like I think in 10 days. I think their scheduled date is, but I'm working from memory here, and this is not the main project I'm working on.
Right. All right. Thank you, Amaury. And again, if we get any further updates, we can add that to the notes for the video as it's produced. Anyone have any questions about any of those updates or would like to provide any further updates?
I have a question. Does anyone know of anyone working on Bitcoin J to add Schnorr signatures to Bitcoin J?
I haven't heard anything.
Oh, okay. We'll see, because like we're using Bitcoin J a lot internally, so we'll see if we can.
I don't know about Bitcoin J, but I know that Sken has been working on updating the binding for libsecp 256K1, which is the crypto library that we use in Bitcoin. And so the most of the Schnorr code, at least the tricky Schnorr code, is in there. And that person is working on the Java binding, so that should give you probably half of the work you require to implement the hard fork in Bitcoin J, though you would have like the second half. I don't know if someone is taking care of it.
Oh, okay. I will see if Bitcoin.com can make it happen somehow, either internally or get someone externally to do it for us. But I think it will be good for the community if we have an updated version of Bitcoin J.
Do people use the Bitcoin J for block verification? Because that would be the only situation I think where you would.
So we're currently using Bitcoin J mostly for receiving transactions and signing transactions. Not really block verification. We rely on Bitcoin D for that.
Okay, because like for example, in most wallets, they won't need to do anything for this upgrade, because usually when you receive a transaction, you don't care if it's signed properly or not. Usually you just don't care at all, right?
Yeah, but Bitcoin J doesn't have DSV yet, and it doesn't have Schnorr signatures. So
okay, so it's just falling behind, you're saying?
Yeah, it is quickly falling behind, and it will be nice to be able to sign transactions with Schnorr signatures as soon as possible with Bitcoin J.
Yeah, for sure.
Any further discussion on those items and updates?
Yeah, what are the specific API from Bitcoin J that you're using? Because maybe another option would be to implement those API in some other node software that is ready, so you can swap them.
Yeah, so currently what's needed for Bitcoin J is that it needs to be able to receive blocks without throwing exceptions, which currently, like, it does throw exceptions when it sees a new opcode that it doesn't recognize. It will definitely throw exceptions for Schnorr signatures. So it needs to be aware of the signatures. It doesn't need to do a full verification because it's not really built for that anyway. It just uses SPV, but it still needs to be aware of it and recognize it and know what it is, and then be able to sign transactions with Schnorr signatures.
Then maybe you just want to throw out the script verification from there if you don't really use it to validate.
Yeah, well, it's not full script verification. It's script parsing.
Okay. For script parsing, I don't think Schnorr will change anything, because it's a blob. If you don't verify the signature, it may be a Schnorr or a CDSA or whatever else. This is just a buffer of bytes. So I don't think that would change much if you don't actually check the signature.
Yeah, but there are some methods in Bitcoin J that would, for example, return the public key and the public key hash for incoming transactions for all the inputs, for example, and that would not work with Schnorr signatures.
You might expect one of these DER encoded ECDSA signatures, and then it doesn't see that, and then it doesn't detect properly, something like this.
Yeah.
The public key part is all the same, so that part shouldn't change at all.
Yeah.
Like the public key hash and all that's the same.
Well, I haven't tested anything with Bitcoin J yet, but I'm sure it will throw a lot of exceptions for now.
No further discussion on that item. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. This is regarding the 25 unconfirmed transaction limit. Has any progress been made towards progress we made on this item? And maybe we'll just throw that open for discussion. I know, Emil, you were talking about it. Yeah.
Yes. So currently we have Shama working on it.
Great.
For a patch, and we are trying to expedite the timeline to get it done as fast as possible. So like basically we have two options for activating this new rule. It's not a consensus rule. So in theory, it could be activated at any time. The problem is we need as many people or as many nodes and miners as possible to activate it at the same time to make it safe. If just a couple of nodes and a couple of miners activate the new rule, it could be very messy and potentially not safe, and make it easier to relay and broadcast double spends. So there are basically two options here. Either we complete it as soon as possible, and we convince as many node operators and miners to activate it on a specific day, basically a flag day activation. I think the community will be able to do this. We just set like a flag date, like, hey, on this date we're going to activate this new rule. It will lead to more transactions on the network, and as long as most of the nodes and miners do it at the same time, we'll be fine. It will be safe. The other option, not as fun, would be to wait for the November hard fork.
Now, just a quick question for you. Is this modifying any of the child pays for parent logic that is inside of the node?
Currently, no. So the goal is to maintain child pays for parent and extending the chain of unconfirmed transactions.
And how are you thinking the chain should be?
Sorry?
How many transactions do you think chaining should support?
As long as we can do it safely. Basically, like if unlimited were safe, then we should go for that. I think we should just crunch the numbers and see which number is safe for the network. So like Bitcoin.com, we have actually since a couple of weeks back, we have we updated our wallet and so it interacts with the Satoshi Dice API. So it's like you get immediate response when you play Satoshi Dice with our wallet. It's really fun until you hit the 25 limit, and then it's not as fun anymore.
And then last question on this is there going to be a published specification of options required for the other nodes so that we can make sure that BCHD and some of these other nodes play nicely with this change?
Yeah, so the way we're going to go about this is that this will be a patch that we're going to submit to Bitcoin ABC, and it will be reviewed. And as soon as it's reviewed and approved, you will have the spec for the other nodes.
Great. Thank you, Emil. That's great.
Just to clarify with Josh, BCHD has implemented or not implemented child pays for parent?
I believe it is implemented. I'm going to have to double check. I'm not 100% on that. I can look through the code and just make sure that that's there, but I'm almost positive it is because we did fork from BTCD where child pays for parent is actually quite important. So I believe that is implemented, and we'll have to probably make some minor changes. I don't think they're significant. I just want to make sure that the behavior matches ABC identically as we are striving to make sure that we are completely compatible.
Great, thank you, Josh.
Yes, one point. The current ETA the last ETA that we had for this was 3 months, but we were trying to speed it up. Roger really wants it done sooner since Bitcoin.com has a couple of new services in a pipeline that requires on-chain that does a lot of on-chain stuff. So the longer chain unconfirmed chains we can do, the better for our services.
So is this the traditional 2 weeks ETA now?
We want it done yesterday, but have to be realistic here. We're trying to expedite the timeline as fast as we possibly.
I'm just funning with you, Emil. Antony, you had something?
Yeah, I have. I guess kind of a comment. Maybe it'll kind of be a question too. I'm not sure, but I guess I'm just trying to get a feel for the strategy or how this fits into everything, because I mean, my understanding of I'm not that familiar with how the mempool and all that code fits together, but my understanding is that the long-term plan is to rework that code so that the mempool doesn't have all kinds of processes going on all the time. So, and basically to have massive scaling, that you would have transactions just go into the mempool, and then you wouldn't have all kinds of tracking in the mempool, and basically create block templates incrementally at the same time. So doing that, like doing those changes also would have the side effect of not having a transaction chain limit, is my understanding. So I guess my question is, it seems like fixing the fundamental problem of why we even have this limit and just getting rid of it completely is the good long-term outcome that we want. So is that what you guys are aiming for, or is it just because just extending the limit a little bit seems like less? I don't know if that I don't know how useful that is versus solving the underlying fundamental problem and just getting the limit completely.
We do want to solve the underlying fundamental problem here, but extending it is better than doing nothing right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
So your plan is to basically extend it first and then keep working at solving it completely.
Yeah, that is the plan.
Okay.
So at least in the discussion that I last had about this, one of the solutions to look into was limiting the child pays for parent depth to 1 or 2. Is that one of the solutions that you're looking at, Emil?
I don't know. I have to refer to Shama for that because he's the one working on it.
Anything further on this topic to be discussed? Amaury, did you have something to add?
Well, kind of the same thing as Antony, actually. So maybe I can go a bit more into the detail of why this limit is there in the first place, which should make it apparent of what the problem is. So the way the software works right now is that when you receive a transaction, the transaction is checked for validity and also checked to see if it fits the policy of the node software. So is it a standard transaction? Does it pay enough of a fee? Kind of stuff like that. And then it's put in the mempool. But in the mempool, we continue to track fees because then we use those fees during the block template creation that miners are using. And this makes a lot of sense if you expect your mempool to be way bigger than your blocks at any point in time, because then you need to optimize for, to pick the right transaction to construct your block to optimize, the transaction that pay the most fee. But if you are in a situation where essentially your whole mempool or almost whole the mempool is flushed every time you mine a block, which is the case for BCH, this design decision don't make any sense whatsoever. And so we can remove a lot of complexity from the software by just, checking if the transaction is paying enough fee ahead of time and then putting it in the mempool. And then from the mempool onward, we don't need to track the fee anymore. And so the reason why there is a 25 chain transaction limit is because every time you add something to the mempool, then you need to recompute the fee for all the parent and the child and everything, so that when you construct the block template, you can, you can essentially compute what is the actual cost of and in size of, each package of transaction with its parent and descendant and all of that. And so that means that every time you add a transaction, you need to essentially loop through all the parent recursively and through all the descendant recursively of the given transaction and update various metrics about them. And so it becomes very quickly apparent that, if you have like n transaction in a chain, well, you need to do work n time because you have an n transaction, but every one of those transactions need to work the whole graph. So you have a quadratic scaling issue there. And so you need a limit on that because otherwise someone can send a bunch of chain transactions and just dose the node software. And so we can, we can do various measurement and maybe, figure out that it's okay to put the limit at 30 or some other number, and it's still cheap enough so that it's okay. But we really want to get to the core of the issue. Like we need to do that because otherwise you're just gonna accumulate a ton of technical debt over time, and this is not going to build infrastructure sustainably.
Any other comments on the item?
Amaury, just one question. What if Bitcoin Cash is getting more acceptance? What about if the blocks will fall in the future?
Well, if the block gets full, that's excellent news. That means that there is very high demand, and that means that we need to raise the block size.
Yeah, I don't think we want the blocks ever to be full, I would say.
Yeah, the only, you should essentially almost never have the blocks that are full. You may want to, you may have someone that send like a bunch of transaction and create a huge spike of demand at one point in time and have a few blocks that are full because of that. But you want like 99% of the time for the block to not be full.
Okay. With the usage that Bitcoin Cash has right now, what in the future and hypothetical future, I don't know, the whole world use Bitcoin Cash, I don't know.
Hopefully, if that's the case, the price would be much higher and we can hire a bunch of people to solve all those problems.
Okay.
Yeah. The way I would look at it is like you have engineering work required to handle the case where blocks are full, but it would make more sense to put that work into making it so that the blocks can be a lot bigger without being full, or the block limit can be higher.
Okay,
yeah,
makes sense.
Also, I think that doing a incremental fix right now makes a lot of sense as long as the nodes can sustain the additional load of the new chain transaction limit. For instance, say we go to 100 chain transactions, that would alleviate most use cases. There might be a nominal increase in CPU load and the feed lookup code, but I don't think it'd be catastrophic at all given the size of the blocks today. And it buys us some time for a more mature solution while solving the immediate, use case need for some of these apps. So I'm glad that the work is getting done.
And we're just not going to raise the limit without optimizing some of the code. Like there will be optimizations to make sure that the new limit is safe.
So, this is a bit of a strange approach to me, and the reason is we are doing a bunch of work in the software that is not useful because of the way our workload is structured. And it seems like essentially any optimization work that goes into making that code more efficient is not building capital, if you want to think of it on an economic fashion. It's not building capital because we know that we want to throw all of that away. So we really want to make sure that we don't spend too much in optimizing. If there are some quick wins, then that's good and fine, and we should do them. But we should not spend too much energy on optimizing the deaths would have that part of the code. And we should also be starting the work to get rid of it essentially now at the same time as there is any optimization work, because like we've seen that it seems like the boot market is returning. That means that in the coming months we're going to see a bunch of new users coming in, and all this infrastructure work to increase capacity in that way, it tends to be quite slow. And it tends to be work that is invisible until it doesn't work, right? It's not like, I optimize the capacity of that piece of the software. As long as you are below the capacity use of it, but it's like, like the new version, it works just like the old one. There is no immediate benefit until you run into the limit and everything goes to hell, right? So we have a wave of adoption that is, profiling itself. We can see it. That means that we need to be doing those stuff right now, because otherwise we're going to run into those limits.
So I'm hearing that there's a suggestion to do things a little bit differently, and you guys are coordinating with how that goes through these meetings. But is there something that needs to happen to assist Emil with what he's doing that we can do from the rest of the people in this group? Is there something that could be of assistance for the work that Emil's doing for Bitcoin.com?
Yeah, just, if Shama is working on this change, he should just reach out to us and discuss the details. Then we'll know he's on the right track and get that code reviewed when it's ready.
That makes sense, Emil?
Yes. I'm sorry, guys, but I have to run.
All right. Thank you very much for being here, Emil. So we'll see you in about 2 weeks then.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Who was that masked man? Oh, okay. All right, we'll move on to is there any other further discussion on that item? I want to make sure I don't blow past anybody that wanted to speak to it. No? Moving on to the last item on the agenda, and then we do have a couple of questions. But the last item on the agenda is the upgrading the testnet. Do you have some specific information that you could provide us, Antony, on the testnet?
Sure, I'll just give just the boilerplate report on it. Josh kind of covered the main thing that I did, which was trying to get BCHD connected to the upgrade testnet. So basically the upgrade testnet has the upgrade activated already, and it's been running for around 6 weeks now. There's information about it on the bitcoincash.org GitHub under work groups, which includes how to connect to it and how to use it and stuff like that. So the other new thing, I think I missed the last meeting, but I think you guys mentioned that we now have an Explorer also up, so people can use the Block Explorer to see what's going on. That's also on that document that's under the work groups. Yeah, so in terms of BCHD, I'm connected, like I can see the chain tip, but I noticed I had to recompile it to change the activation time to be compatible with the testnet. because you're not able. I guess BCHD you can't like feed that parameter in when you start it up. So that would be something that would be handy to have.
Yes.
And,
so my recommendation there is I'm really glad you're investigating those on the testnet. Just put up thorough issues on the GitHub so that me and Chris can take a look and start resolving those issues. I'd like to see things stable on the testnet far before the activation time actually occurs on mainnet, and make sure that we have satisfactory time to make sure everything is working exactly as intended. And, you know, there's the RPC call for invalidate block that I believe is necessary for us to get on that testnet. And then the activation thresholds for testnet can easily be updated in the code at least to the current values so that we can do that testing. Threading that activation time is a little bit more difficult. So for now, I think hard coding that is okay so that we can validate that.
Sure. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that part's pretty easy to just change and recompile. But yeah, okay, I'll open an issue then for the RPC invalidate block. But,
yeah, because I did the reconsider block work. So invalidate block is, I know that code path. So if I can get that issue detailed, I can start working on that testing in the next few days.
Okay, great.
Great, thanks, Josh.
Well, and other than that, like I guess just the information to let everyone know, like that that testnet is available for anyone, like the other like bcash or whoever to test stuff out. So
great. Any other comments or questions regarding the testnet? Mark.
Emil left, but I guess that would be a good platform to test the Bitcoin J, whether it actually does throw exceptions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then lastly, to add, obviously we always invite other people to come test on the testnet. It's not just for developers. Everyone, their businesses, you're welcome to join.
Absolutely. At least at Coinbase, we definitely test on testnet. So I'll make sure to bubble that new information to our crypto team as well to make sure that we can handle anything that's happening during that activation period as well. So you'll hear from hopefully other members of the team here, and we can figure that out.
Great. Thank you for that, Josh.
I guess the other thing I could add is that maybe if anyone wants, like we did some activations already, but if people want to try out, going through activating it again, maybe closer to the actual activation to test out that the activation works properly, we can do that too. Like it's just whatever people want to do on there. You know what I mean? Like we can change the activation times and run it a few times to try things out again.
Okay, great. Thank you, Antony. Any further discussion on the testnet? Testnet's going well. All right, moving on to, I have one question from the audience right now. And this, I guess, is going to go out to Josh. Can BCHD be used as a full node with Electrum X?
So right now, I haven't tested that with Electrum X. That's definitely something that we want to be able to support. We actually prefer people to use the new APIs that we've developed for BCHD natively. And ideally, long term, we're hoping that people will not need to use solutions like Electrum X in the future if they can use BCHD nodes. That being said, for the time being, it'd be great for Electrum X to be able to talk to BCHD. And most of the RPC is actually structured very similarly to ABC. A lot of the hooks are the same. The parameters are very, very similar. So it really, I just need a developer that's passionate about that wants to start testing and reporting the issues to us so that we can fill in any of the missing RPC pieces to allow that to function correctly.
Great. So I'm hearing a lot of call for developers. So it seems to be in this building phase, there's a little bit of a vacuum getting people involved, and so I'm sure that'll fill in as we get more moving forward.
Well, third tools make it a little bit more difficult to support everything. We're focusing on neutrino and new wallet interfaces and the other pieces. So trying to be compatible with other legacy indexing solutions just isn't the highest priority for us.
Right. Thank you, Josh.
I'm a little bit intrigued by this, actually. So does BCHD have an address index?
Yes, we have an address index, and we also, we're actually, I think, the only full node right now for BCH that has a full address index in the actual node itself. The only downside to that is you do need to do a full sync in order to leverage that address index, and it is quite slow for that full sync. Our fast sync does not support the address index.
That makes sense, yeah. Okay. That is interesting.
I would like to jump on the address index stuff. There is a patch, or at least there is like several versions of the same patch that have been butchered over time by various teams for ABC that exist of that patch. If someone could take that patch, put it in good shape instead of hacking it again, in some weird way at each new version, but clean it up, make sure there is a good test suite that come with it. We are gonna merge it. This is, and I think this would be better for everybody, because right now there is like 10 different teams that do their own version of the patch that need to upgrade it on a regular basis when there are new versions, and every single one of those actions is less work than what I'm proposing, except there is like 10 group of people that do it every single time. And they need to redo it with every version, or at least in every version that they need to support. So every few months, they need to redo it again. And this accumulates to much more work and much more, resources spent than just if someone, stop down a bit, slow down a bit, put the patch in shape. It's very important that there is a very good test suite for the patch. So when we develop, we make sure that we don't break it. And if that's the case, then we would be very happy to merge it. And that would mean that we would know that we don't break it, which means that you don't need to have to redo it, with every new version that you want to support. So I think that would be a win-win for everybody involved.
I think everybody needs that functionality. There's so many things that need that address index, and that's why all these third-party indexers are so popular. That would be a huge win.
Yeah, and I can say also on the the networking side, there's a desire from also the Electron Cache team. I'm in touch with them, and there's a desire to maybe move away from ElectrumX also, because recently it's come under a lot of DDoS attacks, and it's just not really ready for that. It's all Python, it's kind of slow. So if we could have Bitcoin ABC or BCHD nodes acting in that capacity directly, that would be fantastic, actually. There'd be way more servers you could connect to with your wallet. That would be, that would be beautiful. So, yeah.
Mark Tyneway, you had a comment or question?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to throw out there that bcash does support address indexing, and then we also have transaction indexing, and we have a whole bunch of patches upstream that have been merged into Bcoin to improve those services and make it more modular and make it easier for people to write their own custom indexers and just kind of slot them in.
Okay,
that's fantastic. I didn't know about that.
Well, I think that's the reason behind these meetings, is so we get a chance to say what's going on. So that's great. Thank you for that, Mark. Any further comments on any further comments on anything? I'm going to throw it open now.
So I had one thing I wanted to bring up, which is I'm currently looking to try to implement BIP 157 and 158 into more full nodes on the network. There are very mature PRs from Core that implement those two features from Jim Posen, who did amazing work. that has been very thoroughly reviewed, looking to try to get that into ABC somehow, mainly because we've implemented it in BCHD. We also posted a specification for minor changes that we made to make the indexes slightly more usable for BCH. And
just to decode that's the Neutrino wallet support.
Yes, so Neutrino wallet is going to need hooks like that when we get that released. That's looking like that will hopefully be, in the relatively near future, not, this week or anything, but not years away by any stretch. And right now, BCHD is the only full node that is supporting those features. And there's only 9 of those nodes on the network. So as we roll out that wallet, we want it to be able to talk to more full nodes. I also pinged BU about this. They said that they had interest in implementing those features in BU, but I don't think there's any developers working on that. And so I'm looking to try to get that into ABC. And that is just new functionality. It's not a breaking change. I don't think that's something that needs to wait for any of the fork dates or anything like that. So that once it is reviewed and really thoroughly done, that should be able to land and just get deployed as part of the normal release cycle for ABC. At least that's my understanding. So I'm really hoping that we can get that as a community.
Well, Josh, the first place to look would be backporting it from core. If they've already built it out, then that's a pretty good place to start.
Ready, have handed that to a few people. And luckily, I know Jim personally. I'm also going to reach out to him to see if he has interest in assisting with some of that work as well, because I know he's very passionate about those particular features and is BCH friendly.
Yeah, Jim actually contributed to ABC in the past. So yeah. Yeah, so as Jason mentioned, Core has built it, so we can backport it. I think that would be the more straightforward path. However, people that get into that need to understand that they may end up, like, you pull that backport and you're like, okay, it depends it's built on top of that other stuff that they built, right? And so you pull that and you may end up with like a big ball of crap to backport. So whoever is getting into that needs to be ready, because actually the bulk of the work may not be 157 at all, right? The bulk of the work may be backporting, seemingly unrelated stuff, but that's the code depends on.
And I don't want that to discourage you either. If someone has trouble or wants help with these backports, they can go ahead and ping me. I've been working on this sort of thing for, I don't know, the past 4 or 5 months.
Well, that's great. I'm going to reach out to Jim too, because he was the original author. So some of the things that required some of those backports may not actually be necessary, and he'd be able to dissect some of those pieces as well. So hopefully with his assistance plus some additional developer hands, I really appreciate you saying that you would help out, Jason. And then I've reached out to Mark, and we'll see whether or not we can make this happen. I don't have any firm commitments on it from anyone yet, but that is something I'm interested in trying to spearhead. Great.
Thank you, Josh. And thank you for your enthusiasm, too. I must comment that it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments that anybody would like to make at this stage?
Sure. I just thought of something because Josh mentioned that they have a spec. That's great. I see that they have the PR up for the spec. Just reminds me that for the upgrade specification, pretty much Mark Lundeberg and I wrote most of it recently. So I think it would be nice if people could have a look at that, especially the other nodes that are actually implementing the spec. And there was there's sometimes people have things that they want to have added to the specification or whatever. So if other people want to have a look at that and make suggestions or make sure that everything is written in there properly, that would be good. It's on bitcoincash.org.
Right.
So just, yeah, we kind of did most of it. I think Shama started it actually, but Mark and I wrote up the final version. I think it's okay, but be good if people could review it some more.
We did have a comment in the audience. Gentleman says, getting rid of Electrum X would be so nice. I just want to pass that along. It was a comment that didn't go out to everyone.
I've been hearing that a lot recently. There's some really serious attacks happening right now. And, yeah.
Okay, good.
It'll probably come too late by the time it actually gets done, but it'll be good. Yeah.
We all want things today, you know?
Yeah. Anything further that anyone would like to add or comment on? We usually try and keep the minutes or the meetings under an hour, and if we get into saying our goodbyes, we'll be doing that. So if there's nothing further, I'd like to thank you all for attending today and helping to make Bitcoin Cash the success that it is becoming. So kudos to all of you. Thank you very much, guys.
Yep, thank you for putting this together.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.